And in that moment, when the bullet was grazing me, I had no control. I realized there was a scorecard that I had never paid attention to. Death pulls away the BS. We cannot BS ourselves. And in that moment, I believe that I will stand before God and give account for my life. I do not want that for you, for me, for anyone, for their last thought to be a realization that they sold themselves short because they were too afraid, too distracted, too fill in the blank to actually figure out why it is that we won this cosmic lottery. You've hit the jackpot. Figure out why you're here and do that and close out all the other noise. Nothing else matters. Don't be an entrepreneur if just because your cousin, your brother, your dad, your uncle, your whoever fill in the blank, your niece, your mom were entrepreneurs, doesn't mean you need to be. Maybe you want to be a father or a mother. That is the most honorable thing. Do it, be it, pursue it with all your heart and find out a way. Do not stop until you're able to do it with everything you have.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, and today we have an incredible guest who I'm excited to reconnect with because it's been about 5 years since our last conversation, and I've always admired his energy and his drive to educate and inspire change. He comes with an intense excitement to bring you valuable lessons. Many of these he's actually had to learn the hard way, most of them actually. We're going to kick things off today with a story about how life or death moments teach us that the real battle in life is the one that happens within. We're going to talk about how we can actually turn our setbacks into those power moves and why life's worst moments are often the beginning of your greatness. Welcome to the show, author of Life is Dope, Michael Anthony.
Woo!
There he is.
We both got the book. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on. I'm really excited to reconnect with you, and for those of you listening, joining in the conversation here. So,
yeah, like I said, I'm not blowing smoke there. I've admired you from afar. I appreciate you reconnecting with me recently, and I went back and I was kind of fangirling over a lot of your social media content and your YouTube channel and living cathartically through your second YouTube channel, which we could talk about because you're kind of showcasing some of the really cool places you visited. It was Hawaii, right? Recently that I was watching you run around in.
Yeah. So I season 1, I have 2 different social channels.
I just want to interrupt you real quick to let people know, michaelanthonytv.com is the website, but your YouTube channel is at Michael Anthony TV for your kind of business mindset, CFO style content.
Money,
yeah.
investing.
But what's the one that's more like travel, just like you in the moment running around with a camera?
That's Signs, Sights, Sounds.
Okay, cool.
All plural. So like a stop sign, signs, sights, you're seeing awesome things, and the sounds of being in a different city.
That's super cool. How long have you been doing that? When did that idea kind of hit you in the heart?
Yeah. So last year I fulfilled a lifelong dream, and I took a port to port cruise around the world. I left Fort Lauderdale and ended up back at it, traveled all 24 time zones and over about 4.5 months. And I ended up documenting it. I originally wasn't planning on launching a travel channel. However, it just kind of is it's a natural outflow of me. And, then it's one of those, I started that about a year ago on social media, just kind of like most entrepreneurs. You start something and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something. And then I started releasing the long form videos of it on YouTube, about a year later.
You're doing a nice job
nobody's
with that.
going to know that.
Yeah. Like, so you were in that location 12 months ago, but who cares? It's a fresh piece of content. You're putting it out there. And like, are you doing the edits too? Cause the energy behind it just very much feels like you. Is that all you?
So I have an editor, However, I worked with him I still work with him.
Hmm.
And it took a good 6 months. And now I feel he really does capture the energy
Yeah.
of what
It's
I've.
really done well. Like everything's there for, and I watch it because I started as an editor and eventually a, director, producer, wear that hat. And so whenever I watch content, I'm always thinking, oh, I like what he did there. Oh, that song, he's tropical. There's a tropical song, but like also the pacing of it's different. You're moving around. It just was really well done. So, I could do a whole podcast episode on that, and maybe I have you back and we talk
Yeah.
about that. Here's why I bring it up. In our audience right now, I mentioned this off camera. We've got a lot of early stage entrepreneurs. We got people who are tuning in, looking to level up in life, and we're grinders. We work hard. Your story right here, Life is Dope. The whole thing is it's 15 stories of hard-won hope and the power of perseverance. Everyone that's tuning in right now, they're in that grind, they're in that perseverance. Some of us are crash and burn and build back up. Um, we do it for a purpose. A lot of us, it's our family that we want to serve and make sure we take care of them for the long haul. It's our own personal fulfillment. It's having nice things in life. But at the same time, while you're grinding, you got to have also something you love to do. Now, I love business. We all typically love the businesses we run. You should. But I'm talking about, like, for me, I like to play pickleball or play the drums, or, you got your certain friends that you absolutely have to hang out with. Or for me in the fall, I'm not going to miss a Buffalo Bills game, right? Not in attendance, but just on the TV with my friends and family, sometimes in attendance. You got your things that make you happy. We live one time on this planet, and if you're just grinding to grind, it's like, what are you doing it for? For you, you are in a nice spot right now. You can travel the world and enjoy it, and you enjoy sharing it with the rest of the world. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
truly a gift of to me in life, Mike. I now, as I filmed season 1, kind of figuring out what I was doing, and since then I've filmed season 2, and I'm planning season 3 right now, and it truly is like I will talk to you, like you've seen the beginning
Yeah.
of as I'm figuring things out, but as it gets more in depth and I get going, I even though I'm solo traveling, I never feel alone because I literally
You're
feel like I'm
talking to
taking you
us.
along
Yeah.
with me on the
Yeah.
journey, and I freaking love it. I love
You,
it.
you definitely feel that. So I definitely encourage anyone who's tuning in right now who loves travel, or for me, just I like to learn about different places I haven't been yet. And why not do that with, Michael as your tour guide? And they're fun, they're short. I think they're usually 10, 20 minutes. So a lot of cool content there. And then obviously Michael Anthony TV for your YouTube channel. And anyone who's interested in this book, guys, I started reading it and I intentionally stopped because I wanted to hear the rest of it right from, I hate the saying, but what, the horse's mouth, they say, right?
Yep.
Um,
Just call me Mr.
so
Ed.
Mr. Ed, yeah, yeah. It's always like, I just called him a horse. Secretariat. How's that sound? Is that a better name for you?
Sure.
But the stories are real. Every
Yeah.
chapter is tied to a real story from Mike's life. And I just think it's really cool not only the way it's all put together, but you have music that you could follow along as you're reading the book. I've never read a book where it said, scan the QR code and you can listen to the music as you're reading this chapter. This is like the music that was playing while I was living these things. That's a really cool idea. If you don't mind, I'm probably going to steal that when I finally write my book. And
Do it,
then,
brother.
you also have like resources. There's a journal, right? And there's notes you can take. Right? You can
Correct.
download all that stuff off your website.
Yeah.
Um, just a
Every
really, really,
chapter.
like, you did not skip a beat with this book. I've seen a lot of great books, and like this is probably the best I've seen put together, and like resources and content. So who do we want to give props to? Because obviously you wrote the book, but who did you have a team help you put it all together? It looks
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm the idea person. Like
You got
this book.
stickers. You got these incredible stickers. You got Life is Dope coasters that I've been using.
Yeah. Yeah. The vision, all of that, it really was birthed from my heart. Obviously phenomenal team. Like yes, I know how to edit. It does not mean I'm an editor. I know how to design. It does not mean I'm a designer. And so I have a phenomenal team of both in my daily life, to just kind of like, hey, I need this designed and that and whatever. And then specifically, I have a team that I hired. I still, the book's written, but I now have
Now you're
even
still
a
working with
coach
that team?
helping me
Oh, that's cool.
with this. And so, I mean, there's probably 20 people that helped, this become a reality.
I'm not surprised to hear that. There's not a detail you guys missed. I mean, the coaster's great designing. The
Thank you.
stickers look awesome. My daughter's going to probably be putting these on her iPad. I'll put a couple on my computer. Like I said, the resources, this was like a really nice touch, Mike. Like you have like a personalized message that you sent to me, and it shows you actually signed the book,
Yep.
which was cool. You didn't have to do that. You signed it.
I
And
numbered
it's
it
one
too.
of it's numbered number 579 out of 1500. And I do like your signature. It's pretty cool. It's just the MA, but it's classic, man. It's really cool. But the personalized note here to me was really awesome.
I appreciate it. That
Yeah.
believe me, there were a few moments where I did not want to. I'm like, God, nobody knows what my signature looks like. I could just have my son's friends, sign for me, or when you're sitting there signing
Yeah.
1,500 books, it's
It's
like
probably not. It's not a hard one for people to forge because it's literally MA with, and the M turns into the
that
A.
went through my head. That went through my head.
But at the same time, it's cool. Like it has a personality behind it. My signature is an MDC squiggle with 2 dots for the eyes, so I don't spell
Okay.
my whole long last name out. But I just really thought you didn't miss a beat on the book. It's awesome, and no surprise, guys. It has 5 stars on Amazon. We'll have the Amazon link. We'll have the website for everybody. But I just think you did a phenomenal job. I read the introduction, and what we're gonna do is pretty cool. I took one question from every chapter. So I haven't,
Okay.
like I said, intentionally fully read the book, but I picked out a couple things from, I thumbed through and worked ahead, and appreciate you sending me some goodies to work on. So
All right,
in the,
one question per story. Like this is going to be a workout, guys. Yeah, you better
yeah,
get your popcorn. I say workout and then I say popcorn. Get ready. We're gonna go through this.
you're on the
All right, I love
treadmill
this, man.
just with the butter popcorn. Oh yeah, baby, at the gym. Um, there's this one dude at my gym real quick. I got to tell this story. He walks on the treadmill backwards and reads a book.
Oh,
And I thought he was just Looney Tunes. I'm like, this guy's crazy. But then I Googled it. I'm like, I wonder if there's actually a theory that is like, there's a reason for it. And there is actually, like walking backwards, and he walks really slowly. Walking backwards slowly, like it helps it. You're using different muscle groups, and it helps with balance, and it actually helps with mental clarity and things. And so he reads and he just does that as part of his workout. I thought it was kind of cool. But so I picture him right now. He's got his earbuds in and he's listening into us right now. Or
right
anyone
on.
who's at the gym. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a great workout of perseverance, because Mike, you didn't get to where you're at now. You didn't get to go to Hawaii and do a 12-month travel, and like you just said, you hit, what was it, 24 different time zones? I didn't even know there were that many.
Yeah, I mean, I
so
literally every
you don't.
time zone I went through.
Mhm.
It was crazy. And also I just want to real quick, because you, as far as mentioning with the book,
Yeah.
because some of you watching and listening, you're not going to listen all the way through. But I do want you to know that for a limited time, I have it at 99 cents on Amazon for the Kindle. So if you
Oh
just
wow.
want the
Okay.
digital version, it's 99 cents, because I do not want
That's insane.
anyone to
Yeah.
say I didn't have the money. I've been
Right.
BROKE and I always had 99 cents.
Yeah.
Especially for something that, helps you in your life. So
Right.
before we get cooking
This
on
would
all
be
that,
if you only had 99 cents, this would be a good 99-cent spend, because you're going to learn things in this book that can help you get, the next 99 grand. Right. And
Yeah.
you've been there. You and I both have been all the way at ground level 0. And I'm still working on climbing up. We're going to get into some of your successes in a minute, but I actually teased it in the intro that you can receive a lot of wisdom from life and death moments. So we talked about the highs, talked about the lows. I mean, you literally were in this moment. You survived a drive-by. This is, you got to give me the scoop. This is like news to me. How old were you? Where were you when this happened?
Yeah. So I grew up in, at the time, it was the worst neighborhood in Minneapolis. And I was picking up some friends, and it's kind of, I didn't know what to call it other than a drive-by, except I was the one in the car.
Oh, really?
I was in the car and my car got shot up.
It's like
And
what's going on in California right now. I hate to say it. Like Los
Okay.
Angeles, this is
Okay.
basically what's going on with all the protests right now. It's horrible.
Okay. Yeah, I stay out of the news
Yeah.
stuff. Like I'm like,
There's people right now driving by in LA, innocent bystanders driving to work, and people are trucking. Some of them are shooting, but a lot of them are throwing stones and stuff
oh,
to protest. I'm like, these people, you're
that's
like
not
harming.
protesting.
You're
That's not
harming people who
protesting.
don't have
That's
anything to do. Yeah, this isn't like if you're
rioting.
mad at Trump, he's not the one in the car that you just threw a rock
Yeah,
at. This is some
no.
lady trying to get to her doctor's appointment.
Yeah,
Anyway, I digress.
that's
So
a
you're in
whole
the car.
separate conversation,
Yeah, I
regardless
agree.
of your
Yeah.
feeling and opinions of immigration. That is just it's BS. It's BS.
I
It's
agree. I
violence
mean, we
against
can go
other
there real
humans.
quick. My 10 seconds on it is I understand people want a platform and need a platform, and I totally appreciate it. Peaceful protests, I think there's power in that. But I never agree that it's okay to just harm an innocent bystander
No.
because you're trying to make a message. And I'll never agree with that. I don't care if
Yeah.
I'm even in agreeing with the person who did it. Well, no, now you're doing something you went too far. So
Yep.
that's my thoughts on it. There's no reason to be doing what's going on there. It's
Agreed.
horrible. I got family in the area. And it's not good right now. So just more peace and love in the world is what I'd love to instill as part of this episode. So tell us again. So you're in the car,
Sure.
someone goes
Yeah.
by, there's fire,
Yeah, so I mean, the neighborhood I grew up in, it wasn't uncommon to like hear gunshots for, the house across the street from me had a technical traditional drive by several times. It was a, crack house and,
Yeah.
dealt drugs and stuff like that. So I was in the car, I had my music going, and I thought I heard some gunshots, but it was like off in the distance. And then I heard some more and I'm like, yeah. And I look in my mirrors because again, for someone who didn't grow up in that, you're like, oh my God, like, let me get out of here. But for me,
You're
it was
thinking,
just life.
yeah, maybe it's the neighbor, something's going on there as I'm
Yeah.
driving by. But
Yeah.
these,
And
were
I
they
looked in
intended
my
bullets
mirrors.
for you, or were you just in between like a fight going on this side of the street and this side of the street?
No.
And you happen to be driving by
No,
at the wrong time.
there was nothing. I didn't see anyone.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, they're just shooting a couple blocks away. No big deal. And then my buddies get into the car in the back seat, and one of my buddies' his leg. This is going to age me. But I had big cassette like thing that would hold like 48 cassettes on each side.
Yeah.
And his foot got stuck in it as he was going across the back seat. And my other two buddies got in the car and his legs stuck and they're in the car and whatever. And I turn around, so I'm in the driver's seat. And I turn around like this to help his leg get unstuck to move the case because it's a black case. It's dark.
Right.
They can't see what's down there, but I know.
Yeah.
And I happen to look up out my back window and I see these three shadow figures. There was like a street light behind them.
Right.
And these three shadow figures, and all of a sudden a bright orange spark.
Yeah.
And I was like, shh, like they're shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, immediately I just yelled, they're shooting, get down. And, I ducked down and I just started driving and I hit the curb and I was like, crap, I have to look and see where I'm driving.
Yeah.
And, I got up, and in that moment, like my life literally flashed before my eyes. And I later came to find out that bullet from the spark that I saw literally grazed me right under my eye. And I had several markings that later I was moving my head I'm like, how did I get those? Like, and I moved my head just right, and I was like, holy crap, if my head was here and I had moved it to here.
Right. It's very similar to kind of the Trump assassination attempt, right? He moved
Okay.
his head like 2 percentage points to look at a graph.
Yeah.
And the bullet just missed him and it grazed his ear. It's a very
Yes.
similar situation.
Yeah.
So you were literally an inch or two away from
I was
being
millimeters.
millimeters away
Like-
from a really, this is holy smoke. So did it, did life slow down in that moment?
Yeah,
Like you're saying?
it
And
did. It put things into perspective, and I am so grateful for it, Mike, because in that moment, I realized, first off, where do I go? Like, okay, my instinct was, let me duck down,
right.
to hide, but a bullet can go through a seat.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so all of a sudden I realized, as I'm in all of this, it's like life, for some, I don't know how time works. I'm not a string theory, whatever. But in that moment, I lived like 15 minutes of life in like 0.3 seconds. And number one, I was like, okay, if I move my head down by my dashboard to avoid, bullets, well, maybe there's a bullet that's going to fly there and not where my head is. And there was this feeling of helplessness, which brought about an idea of security. Like, security is honestly, it's a construct. It's made up. It's make believe. That some people will hear this and immediately be like, oh my God, it's make believe. How do you even, how do you live without fear? And it's like, well, you surrender to, for me, I believe, I'll just say, in God, in a higher power, because I don't,
we're on the same page
to me, it doesn't matter what your personal belief is. 95% of humanity believes in something bigger than us. So fill in the blank with that. I surrendered that there is someone watching out for me. And I don't mean like I could have died right there and that could have been fine, but I just have to trust that life happens the way it's supposed to.
I got to ask a couple follow-up questions there. How many shots do you recall were at the car? How many maybe landed? And then how'd your buddies do too?
Yeah. So the bullets that we found, so two of the tires ended up blown out.
Wow. So they were like really after you guys.
There was a bullet in the dashboard. Like that went, there was one that like went, but the dashboard and like the window, and it like cracked the window, where it embedded. And then there was one like literally right between, my radio and the dashboard that ended up going in there. There was one that went in there was one in a gas can.
Oh my God.
That I had in the back. I had like a portable gas can. Went in there. Didn't spark anything.
Wow,
my buddy got shot in his calf. And his calf, it was the leg that was stuck.
Yeah. Oh
if his calf hadn't been there, it would have hit me.
Oh my God. And that could have been worse than just a calf shot. It could have been in your heart, and it could have been in your lungs.
Yeah. And there was
so the fact that cassette tape thing was there. I mean, sorry, your buddy had to take one for the team there, but he's okay, right?
The doctor literally was like, it went in and it like literally went around like in his leg. They were like, there's no damage other than like, you'll have a scar, but they were like, there's no muscle issues. There's no like nerve issues. There's nothing with
Mike,
it.
Did you ever find out if this was intended for you guys, or were you just at the wrong place?
Never found out. I personally, as I say in the book, I think one of my buddies, he was like more of a friend of a friend. But one of my buddies had done some dirty shit, and
So you were maybe just had the wrong person in your car.
Yeah.
Because did you think? I mean, my thought in that moment would have been, okay, do I go home? Is home safe? If someone's shooting at my car, now they know what my car looks like, even though it's dark.
Oh, that didn't. Okay,
you didn't even think about that.
Levels of like no.
Okay.
That didn't even enter my mind.
How close were you to home?
Like a mile, half a mile.
Wow.
But like, dude, you have to understand. I grew up in the hood. I
I
lived
know
in
you
the
grew
hood.
up in that, but like if someone's now actually firing at you,
Yeah.
that changes it to it's not I'm shooting up the house across the street. Why am I the target? Right? You gotta be wondering. But again, you figured it out. It was your buddy maybe was a target.
I
Yeah.
honestly, like, Mike, that never really obsessed me at all because there was just this, I guess more importantly, like more real was the idea that like I literally could just die at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what
Damn,
like
it was
I,
that bad.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't share in the book, but like I'd been stabbed a few years earlier. Like, I would be threatened with my life. Not uncommon. Like it
Right.
wasn't like daily, but like,
When did that happen? How old were you when that happened?
well,
When
which
you
the
got
stabbing,
stabbed?
I was
Yeah.
13.
Jeez, you want to share that one too? Or I mean, like honestly, I think it's important. I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
And I call it the world to see, to know where somebody came from, to know where you're at today. And I honestly I don't know exactly where you're at today as far as like building your legacy and stuff. But you were here, you're in this moment, life or death situations daily. You got stabbed, you got shot at. You're here to tell the stories, most importantly. Your buddies are okay, they survived. But when did you get out of that environment finally? Did you have to do it or did your parents? I don't know
No.
your parents' situation. So how did you finally get out of it all?
Yeah. So it was one of those, I actually talk about that in one of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down to me having to take ownership over my life. And the realization, like that's a broad thing that we hear, people talk about and on, all the TikTok bros, and you got to own things, and be at the gym at 3:30 in the morning because someone else shows up at 3:35, and you got to be number one, and I
Yeah.
sleep for 2.5 hours, and like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm just gonna go unfiltered here, but like for me, that's not my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. Okay.
I'll add if that works for that person, cool, but don't
Yeah.
expect everyone to do your thing. That's your thing. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it. Like I have been through seasons where I got
Yeah.
my butt up at 3:30 to be at the gym by like 4 o'clock or whatever it was
Yeah.
to meet a buddy. That was a season of life. It helped me get to where I am, but
Yeah.
it's not for everyone every time.
You're
all
not
the
pitching
time.
it on your IG to flex. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So anyways, we digress. But really for me, what I mean by taking ownership over my life is I had this aha moment where I was working at Marshall's at the Mall of America. And that's the largest mall at the time, the largest mall in maybe the world or North America, something like that.
Mall of
Canada has since
America?
opened up a mall. Blah.
Mall of America. Isn't that in Syracuse, New York?
No,
what am I thinking of?
Minneapolis or Bloomington, Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. Okay. What's the one in Syracuse?
No
I forget.
idea.
There's another gigantic mall. I've been there. I don't think I've ever been to the one in Minneapolis. So sorry.
Okay.
I'm just my brain
No,
was like, wait a minute. There's a,
That's all
little
right.
thread of thought from like 10 years ago where I'm like, wait a minute, I got to
Yeah.
replace that file and correct it and then refile it back in my brain. But
So during that time, there's a whole like unknown level of the mall below. There's actually maybe 2 levels below it where stores will stage their clothing before it comes up to the stores. And so I would work down there in the early mornings, and it was a beautiful time for me because I grew up in a highly religious household, which I love God. I personally love Jesus. And from that though, like there were a lot of rules. I'll just say rules. I like a lot of fear instilled in me. And
this is
and in
earlier.
that,
This is when you were even younger than 13. This is the
no,
early,
no,
early,
no.
early.
This is I'm talking working. I'm working at the Mall of America. So this was actually I worked at Marshall's when the shooting happened.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
these
So
are
what
like
you're like
similar
16,
periods.
17, 18 years old, somewhere
Yeah.
in that range.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was probably, if I'm to timeline, like that was probably one of the most difficult things for me with the book is timelining things. I had to go back and like
Yeah.
figure things out. But I would say that being in the
As they were
cage,
happening, you weren't thinking, I'm going to be writing a book about this someday.
no,
Like
oh
I'm
no,
going to.
no,
You
I
probably,
was
if someone
thinking
said you
about,
were an author, you would have bet $100 that they were folk, that, like you wouldn't have never thought that, right? Because at the time you just were in such a different place in your life.
dude, at the time, like I
Yeah.
was in the
Just
hood. I
you're
was
trying to
just trying,
survive to get through
yes.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And I graduated high school a year early. Kind of had some loopholes that they've since closed, and because I was just like, I'm done with playing adult. Let me go graduate and just, rather than spend 40 grand to go into debt, let me, like at the time it was 20 grand to go, go into debt to figure out, what I want to do in life. I was like, let me work minimum wage and figure out what I want to do and then go do it. And so I was in this window where I was just really seeking, like, what do I do in life? And I'm working, we called it the cage, this cage area down below. And there were these beautiful people, like beautiful people, freaking love them. And one day though, all of a sudden I realized, like, some of them were 20 years older than me. Some of them were 40 years older than me, 50, like one woman was working retired. And I was
Mhm.
like, I love them. They're beautiful people. That spoke to me that just because you're a beautiful human doesn't mean you end up financially in a good place.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, I can clown around with these guys, but like
Yeah.
I don't want to be
I don't
them,
want to be this person's. Yeah.
when I'm their
In the
age.
book, you had there's a word. I'm trying to remember where we were. I'm just scrolling through my notes. It was
Okay.
there was a way that you framed that question. When you were at the Mall of America job,
Yep.
geez, let me see if I can find it real quick. Do you remember what I'm talking about? I forget what
Well,
chapter it was.
I don't even know what you're
What I'm
referencing
referring
right
to.
now.
No, it was one of the titles of the chapters actually. So I'll just look right here in the book. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on
Act
it.
like an
So
owner. Chapter 2.
that's it. Act like an owner. So the idea of acting like an owner. That's what I wanted to ask you about. Actually, thank you. So you're there. You're seeing people your age, 10 years older than you, 20 years older than you, and they're not acting like an owner, right? So what did that mean to you at that moment? You're 18 years old, thinking that. What did it mean to you then? And what does it mean to you now?
What it means is eliminating any excuse. Let me phrase it this way. Acting like an owner means eliminating any opportunity, Mike, that you sit there and point your finger at someone else. If
Mm-hmm.
someone else is on some level responsible for your outcome, you're not owning that area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some aspects that are beneficial to that, right? Like we're in relationships because of that. We maybe have a job working somewhere. If we're happy in it, if we're being paid well, then it's beneficial mutually. However, for me in that season of life, I considered myself and my friends, we were called hood rats. Like we were
Yeah.
just in the hood and whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
for me to grow beyond that required, as I looked around, I had a distaste toward and a bias toward people with quote unquote money, which now I look back at that phrase is so funny, like, the rich. Well, the rich were actually just like lower middle class, like
Yeah.
looking at it through my
But it's all
lens
perspective to you. Anybody's not getting shot at that has more than $100 in their bank. You're like, these guys got it made.
has more than $100. He has
Yeah.
$10.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like that's the type of
Right.
stuff,
Mhm.
I came from. And so for me, acting like an owner meant, okay, let me look at people who are quote unquote successful, meaning they're not having to beg food, deal drugs, they're not working minimum wage at 45 years old. Like what do these people have in common?
Mhm.
And well, I'll tell you, the majority of them, there's exceptions to everything. But for me, the way I dressed, the way I spoke, the way I carried myself, I was told like, I bought into this
Yeah.
idea that that's just me. I'm being true to me.
Yeah.
And I had to come face to face with, okay, do I want to be broke with
Right.
excuses, or do I want to play a game called Success in Life that I didn't create, and I'm not Gandhi? Like, the reality
Mhm.
is I'm not taking down this system. I'm not.
Mhm.
So I can either plug into it and go somewhere. And now, like, even I'm filtering quite a
Oh
bit
yeah.
in my
Yeah.
head, the cuss words that want to come out, because I'm choosing to, out of respect for your listeners and whatever, and it slows me on my talking. But
Right.
in my day-to-day life, I speak now exactly how I want to. I dress exactly how I want to, but I had to get to a place of financial independence. And
Yeah.
so that's what I mean by owning it. Like, hey,
What an incredible thing. It sounds like at the time, your friends and obviously your family at the time was just so entrenched in it that you couldn't see it. What do they say? Can't see the forest through the
yeah,
trees or whatever that saying is. But like when you're in it, it's hard to really even know. It's like you have that friend or whatever, that person, you go to their house and it has kind of a funky smell, but nobody who lives there knows it because they live in it.
yes,
Like you didn't know your life had this funky smell. Well, you did actually know because you're having this, but it took a little while and you finally said, I don't want to be a part of this. How do
mhm,
I get, just to the next level, right? It was like a
yeah,
stepping stone. I think that's incredible. Anyone right now who's tuning into this, you may not be getting shot at, stabbed at, or living paycheck to paycheck at a mall, but you might be in a place in life where a lot of stuff has gone wrong with the people and an environment around you, and you keep feeling stuck. It could be a relationship, it could be a corporate job you
yes.
have, it could be something that you put yourself in and you didn't realize that you allow it to continue to happen. I've been there. And you want to break through. So, Mike, what was it that finally allowed you the clarity to say, I want something better for my life?
Well, I
Was it,
just knew I wanted something better for my life. Here's the thing, Mike. I think every person watching this and listening has deep down in them a belief they're capable of more.
yeah,
Whatever more is for your listener, for you, for me, there is this, like, when I look, if we just look at creation, at the universe, it doesn't get worse, it gets better. Like, when you travel, if you look at, maybe you live by the mountains or
hmm,
on a road, like, how is it that a plant will grow and push through asphalt? Like,
right.
there's this innate ability, desire, drive, I believe, in all of humanity and creation to
Hmm.
succeed. And so, from that standpoint, I was simply had the gift of having some clarity, which is exactly why I share this book now. I've written these stories is not for others to compare, like, oh,
Yeah,
your life is so much worse than mine. BS. There are people with far more quote unquote trauma that's happened to them in life
yeah.
than me. The
And I liked
point
how you
is,
put that in there, Mike. You said, like, you wrote that up real, I think it was in the introduction, like, this
yeah,
isn't about comparing stories. Your
no,
life was better or harder, or I'm in the good parts of life. Don't compare your life to mine. This is, you wanted to share your story so other people can benefit in the ways that you finally, when you got ahead, you're like, man, I wish I knew this stuff earlier, right? So now it's like you just want to help other people lift up and get out of those
yes,
situations. Because
yes,
if it
and so
benefited one, that's cool. But you don't want to, someday we're all going to be laying either in a casket or who knows what your end story is. And it's like, did you help one person, or can you help more than one person? And the idea of writing a book is you wanted to help more than one person. I thought that was cool.
yeah. Yeah. And so from that standpoint, I just had that gift of a moment of clarity of saying, look, I can live my life as a victim. And especially in today's world, Mike, there's so many, there's so many opportunities to blame this, that. It's always something outside. but in me, I went, hold on, there may be some legitimate limiting forces. But you know
Hmm.
what though? Let me, let me push past everything I have control over so that I can find out where it actually is.
Hmm. That's huge. And it leads me kind of right into chapter 3, because you in chapter 3 highlight the idea that greatness often hides underneath pain, right? So it's like
Yes.
it's worth digging for, is what you say. It's worth fighting for. It makes me actually think of the saying, pressure creates diamonds,
Hmm.
right? So can you share? I mean, you already kind of shared some of your trials and tribulations, but the pain that you've experienced, maybe pick an area, what you were going through. It could be pain of loved ones, right? I don't know if other people were feeling it as you were feeling it too. Something became the catalyst for you to then go from living in that to your massive success. I know you became a millionaire and you put this in the book. I know you're not asking me to say this, but I'm congratulating you. 40 years old, you hit your first million. 41, you were a multimillionaire. Connect the dots for us. Like, how do you get from where you're saying you started to think about doing it to making it a reality?
So first off, it's not gonna ever be how we plan.
Yeah,
Um,
it's I say
y-
connect the dots, but it's never a straight line.
no, connect the dots would be like, all right, let's look at the night sky with all the stars and then, connect things. It's like, no, it's
It
a
looks like the draw by number
everything is
where it's like
everywhere.
everything's out of order. Yeah.
And so, and also, I just want to say for my sake, like I have not arrived. I am far from, the more we the further we go in a journey on life, the more we realize how far the journey goes, and not
It
in a
should be though.
depressing way.
Like I don't care if you're Elon Musk, like as far as money goes. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about personality or politics, but if you have Elon Musk money or Michael Anthony money or Mike DiCioccio money or Susie who's listening to this episode money,
Yeah.
like it's not about that. It's about, what more can you continue to do? Learn and grow every day. That's why I love reading books and listening to podcasts. I podcast because I just love having these conversations that can help other people and myself as the first audience member. But yeah, like you just said, and I apologize for interrupting, but the reason I did was just to remind everybody, like, you shouldn't live your 20th birthday every year the rest of your life, because now you're an adult, you start working, and around between 20, 25, by 30, usually people have like their career path started to carve out, right? And then they get married, and they live the same year 2, year 3 of marriage, year 4. You got kids, and you're kind of like, you're 40 years old, and you're the same person you were 10, 20 years in a row. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but like even myself, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to keep living the same month over. It feels like June was the same as May. So we always should be learning and growing. So the fact that you say you haven't arrived, I think in many ways you got a lot to be proud of and you're being humble, and I appreciate that. But you're also saying, I want to keep learning, growing, and it's not just a money thing,
Dude.
but I want to go travel. You hit 24 time zones, but you want to do another video about something unique that you haven't been
Yeah.
to yet. And I think that's infectious. That's why in the beginning of the show, I said your energy is gonna like be what really captivates the audience today. And it
Yeah.
is.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's I hear what you're saying, and the reality is, look, if you could get into my head and see what I see today, I am so much more versus like what I saw when I was, 20, when I graduated high school, I had a list of like things I wanted to accomplish and I lost the list, but brother, I had it on a cork board on my dresser. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to look at it and I realized by the age of like 21, I had achieved most of them. I
Mm-hmm.
notably drastically failed at becoming a millionaire by 30 because I had
Okay.
no idea about how money worked.
Yeah.
And
But
though,
that's interesting. It was on the board though. So
yeah,
that's like you were thinking that way. You
yeah,
were 10 years off, but I guess what I guarantee that if you didn't have it on the board at all, you probably wouldn't have hit it by today.
correct. And the reality is, uh, I could say like every year I thought about it and this and that and whatever. No, the to get to the season of story number 3, you're meant for more. I believe all of us go through a season. Well, if we're going to achieve any amount of what we internally gauge as success, I don't give a rip whether I think it's successful, or whatever, but about you. But if you deem it successful, you have to go through a dying period. You have to go through a dark period, a questioning. What do they call it? The dark questioning of the soul.
Yeah.
Some famous person calls it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about though. Like when you
got to
no
give
other
up
no
everything.
you got to kind of throw your hands up and surrender. You're a believer, I'm a believer, and it's the same thing where a lot of people have questions like, this doesn't seem to be answered in the Bible. It's like at a certain point you do have to surrender, and you have to just really believe. The word believer is believe and trust. And guess what? With that in your heart, and you start to actually believe it for real and do the things that you feel called to do with that compass, the compass of Jesus leading the way, all of a sudden great things in your life start to illuminate. They were already there, but now the flashlight is illuminating the way because he's the compass of it. And so that's just something you and I and anyone who's a believer, and I'm still really early on in my walk there as well, so I don't even want to preach on it, to be honest with you, because I don't feel ready to. But I'm sorry, I totally ran off track there.
And just to also I see this in you're a follower of Jesus. I love Jesus. Well, if somebody's watching or listening that doesn't, I see this at work in people. There's something about the power of faith, just having that belief and trust. And so for me, I had at a young age, I want to be a millionaire. I wanted to make six figures and I wanted to be a millionaire because to me, not understanding money, I said $1 million, I can do what I want in life.
You wrap your head around the fact that was a good target. And
hey,
good. Yeah.
Let's get there and see what
It's funny how in 2025 someone makes their first $1 million and they're like, oh good, I can afford my apartment. I can get 1 or 2 kids through college if I'm lucky, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, I went through that dark night of the soul, and in my late 20s, I got married early, had 2 kids. By the time I was 24, I had my first kid, and second by 26 or something. And so, I'm 28, 29. I had been in ministry full time.
Wow.
I wasn't making enough in my life, and I wanted to say, oh, but I'm serving God. I'm serving Jesus.
Yeah.
No, I was just freaking lazy, I was too afraid to step out on my own. So I was using God as the guise for being poor and not providing for my family. But in the moment, I was crushed. I thought that if I left ministry, literally I'd get struck by lightning for, stepping out of God's will. And, I have 2 kids. I have a wife at the time. And I'm what do I do to make this happen? I'm a failed entrepreneur. I'm failed in ministry. All these things. And I was looking at moving from Minneapolis to Nashville. And this right before, and I had no job.
What planted the seed for Nashville? Curious, because I know you're there now.
Yep. So I had been.
That's the reveal, folks. He does make the move because he's in Nashville now.
Yes. No spoiler alert there. So I ended up leaving the ministry and started doing sales for a print company, manufacturing company for CDs and DVDs. Back in the mid thousands when everything was tanking. Nowadays, it doesn't exist. But
yeah, it's crazy.
I built $1 million book of business that was supposed to get me a 6-figure income, and I was earning the same amount. I hadn't earned a penny of commission, because the people
what was this company?
Huh?
You were working at? What was the company you were working for? Don't say the company, but what was the
print manufacturing for music labels.
Print manufacturing. Okay, for music
So
labels.
your Sandlot DVD right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
like the
unopened, by
print
the way. That's
manufacturing of that.
I got you.
I would
Okay.
sell that, to the distributor that made that. And
I got you. Okay.
so I was just in this place of like,
So if
I
you
felt
did, I just want to say reiterate what you said there. So if you were responsible for $500,000 of sales, like
no, a
because,
million.
a million, I'm just making a number up, million, 500,000, whatever, or 10 million, your paycheck year to year looked the same.
I was supposed to, in theory, when I got hired, literally my hiring manager was like, you have $1 million book of business, you'll be, somewhat, give or take $10,000 within $100,000 of income.
Yeah.
A year in, cold calling out of a freaking industry
Phone
telephone
book.
book, I built $1 million
Yeah.
book of business, and I
It's
hadn't
incredible.
gotten a penny of commission because of how my comp was based on. This is a tangent, but the details in life are important, kids.
Yes.
My compensation was based on net profit. Meanwhile, the people who manufactured were paid a salary. So they are the ones who actually impacted the profit margins, but their
Mm-hmm.
paycheck didn't feel it. Mine did. So a year in, I sold the $1 million and I hadn't even earned a penny of commission. But to answer your question, in that job, see, everything serves us in life, Mike.
Yeah. I was
And
just
that
about to
job
say,
would bring me to Nashville over the years. And actually the before that, the job in ministry I had brought me to Nashville a few times, all of it music related. And I felt like Nashville was entrepreneurial. And I
mm-hmm.
went on one trip specifically, and no exaggeration, no hyperbole, every meeting I had, people I did not know before, people I knew, clients of mine, just random meetings. Every person, Mike, one of two things, talked the entire time without me asking about how moving to Nashville was the best decision of their life, or talked the whole time without me asking about, Mike, you need to move to Nashville. Nashville's so great. When are you moving? And so finally, I'm like, oh, it takes a minute to get through my thick skull sometimes. And I
Yeah. The
called
frying
my
pan moment.
I called my ex up and I was like, hey, I'm just throwing this out there because I just want to throw it out there because when I come home, it might leave me in the moment. And that's an important lesson in taking action in the moment.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, what would you think of maybe possibly someday, hypothetically, we were to move to Nashville? And without skipping a beat, she was like, great, let's do it. I've been waiting on you to say something. I could see it when you were coming back from trips. I didn't see it. I didn't know it. This was news to me, but she obviously knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the story, I'm talking about the all of this is like just pressing on me. And now I'm like failed at the latest business I have. I have two
Yeah.
kids under 4 years old at home, and I'm packing up in little belongings, a few little belongings to go move to Nashville with no job, no place to live. I have some friends, shout out Doug at the Agave Social Club. If there's any tequila drinkers, that's another great podcast. Edit that out if you don't want it in there.
No, that's
But
good.
my buddy Doug and
Yeah.
Brenda let me stay rent free for a few months.
To get your grounding and
Yeah.
your bearings and all that. Yeah.
And so I moved down, but before I moved, it was like the night before or 2 nights before, I'm standing in my upstairs office, and it was looking like guest room office, makeshift everything room, and it overlooked the city skyline of downtown Minneapolis. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just looking at that, staring out the window, going, am I insane? Am I insane? What is it in my life that I can look at for proof that I've done anything successfully? Anything successfully. Like I grew up fairly quote unquote unsuccessful, was sexually
Sure.
abused, physically abused, mentally abused, verbally abused, shot, stabbed, just fill in the blank.
Right.
Witnessed
It's
attempted
incredible that you're
suicide.
here today, Mike. And we talked about the stabbing, the car shooting. I didn't know about some of the other things you just mentioned, but the percent chances on paper that you're here to tell your story, even
Yeah.
after all that, is incredible. And I do believe that it was, I didn't know about the ministry side of your story, but obviously you got called there for the right reason. It seems like that was a good redirection for your heart and your soul, and like that redirected you. And even though you weren't financially where you wanted to be yet, I think it seems like it paved a way in a sense. Now you were financially nowhere where you wanted to be, but then even when you didn't have much, you said, I'm ready for a new chapter, right? So speaking of a new chapter, look at this segue right here. It doesn't get any smoother of a segue. Bam, right here. Chapter 3, you talk about the power of language and how important it is to self-talk, saying the things. There's 4-letter words that you eliminated. I know can't's probably one of them, because again, I haven't read ahead. Is can't one of them?
It's a 4-letter word.
Yeah. And I helped my daughter eliminate that from her vocabulary, because it was really, it came there, boom. It came out a lot when she was like 2-3 years old, when she was starting to run around and try her first tricycle and bike and roller skates, and a lot of I can'ts and this and that. And in school, I can't. And so I said, hey, we're going to change I can't to we're going to figure out a way. So whenever we run into something that we're not able to do yet, I say, what are we called? And she goes, we're the problem solvers. And I go, we figure out a way, right? If we don't have the answer, we find someone who can. We're problem solvers. I go, that's really what running a business and being an entrepreneur is. You're just basically problem solving all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's where I thank God for my daughter, because it was my daughter and my son that really had me all of a sudden have this aha moment. And I share the story in detail in the book, where basically kids wanted to do something and I said, we can't. And in that moment, Mike, I felt like I felt it in my mind, and I visually saw these bricks like dropping down around my head, boxing me in. And like the limits.
I feel it as you say it. It's like, and I know that, like that feeling of you kind of hate yourself in the moment. You're like, I'm saying this, but if I was watching a movie of me right now, I'd be hating on this person. Why am I doing this?
I would, wherever that phrase in the 80s came from, reach out and touch someone, I would have reached out and touched me. Like, wake up, man. Wake up.
Right across. Yeah.
And that's where, for me, my journey, I still consistently am filtering what I speak, because as I said earlier, I cuss a lot, and I've gotten a lot of shit. I let my guard down on that.
You just said, yeah.
I get a lot of flack from people on my language, which personally I don't like. It's just whatever. It's how I've thought as far back as I can remember. Literally as far back as I can remember. It's how my brain thinks. So I just speak that way. However, in that moment, I realized I'm like, I'll get on my little daughter or my son if I heard him say shit or, whatever, fill in the blank on whatever. But yet here I am spouting can't. And at the end of the day, I guarantee, look, if you got offended by what I said, I'm going to say this in love. I'm offended by broke. I'm offended by not living your life's purpose. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You could go through a life saying, every 4-letter word, traditional 4-letter word out there all the time. And that's not going to prevent you from your capacity in life. However, if your self-talk is can't, if you say something like, and I don't know, we didn't talk about, but like, if you say something in life like, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I guarantee you that is going to have more damage on you, saying, I can't afford something is going to have more damage in
Yeah.
your life than being like, ass, like
Yeah.
using the word ass. That's not going to impact your life. But
Right.
using the word try, using the word can't, those are practical. Now, say a cuss word or not, that's not the point. The point
Right.
is the real words that poison us in life
Mm-hmm.
are the sneaky ones that get in there that,
It
you know,
kills me. I see
should.
it in emails too, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, don't shoot on yourself. That was
Yo,
actually, I forget her name. I maybe talked about this once or twice on the podcast, but I think her name was Amy, and she went to Buffalo State College. That's where I graduated from. Now it's called Buffalo State University. So it sounds a little fancier now. I wish maybe I can go back and change my my degree. That's collecting.
you got a degree from BS?
Yeah, from BS. It's right up here collecting dust. Can't see it. It's off camera. But she was saying in the commencement speech, she actually was a producer, I believe, for HBO. So
Okay.
they brought her in. She was successful. She went to the same school, and she was saying the commencement speech. And I don't remember 99% of what she said, but that day she said, "Don't should on yourself." And I never forgot that. I'm like, should do this. We should do that in life. I should do this in life. Don't live that way, because you're going to be looking back going, oh man. And I just told this to Isabel the other day. I said, a lot of times when we're together, there are certain things I have to get done for my team, my clients, and I just have to get them done. But most important to me is my time with you. And I said, because I know when I'm older, hopefully I get to live a long, fulfilling life. And, I'm 99 years old or whatever, looking back, I'm never going to say, I wish I worked harder that one night
Mhm.
when Isabel was sitting there hoping that her dad would play a card game with her or a board game or a video game or go out and get ice cream. Never going to say, I wish I worked harder that night over, I wish I would spent more direct time with my daughter.
Yeah.
Never, it's never going to work that way. I don't care what the situation is. So I am very mindful of what you're talking about. And you and I, that's why I said, when I started reading your book and we reconnected recently and I was watching some of your videos, I'm like, man, Michael's the perfect guest for Mic'd Up.
I'm
I know
grateful for
time
being
is
here.
flying right now. It's already, I know you have a flight to catch. So I
Yeah.
got a couple, I got a lot more prepared. I'm going to have you on again, dude. This is not a
Thank
one-time
you.
situation. I'll have you on as much as you want to come on. You're a welcome guest. But I want to have you help out. There's people in the audience right now dealing with not just the words we say, because that's part of it. And I do agree, the words are a huge part of it, the self-talk. But imposter syndrome, I've dealt with it. I think I still do. I think
I
it
do.
doesn't just go away. It doesn't go away. It's kind of like the sun. The sun always comes up, but it's like to defeat imposter syndrome, you have to do the right things, meditate, pray, believe in yourself, positive self-talk. You have to defend it because it will always come back. What advice do you have? And obviously there's a lot in the book, but someone's stuck right now. They're listening to this. They're like, man, I wish I could dream bigger. I want to dream bigger, have a greater vision for their life. They're battling this imposter syndrome, the limiting beliefs. What are some practical things they can do every day that you found worked for yourself?
Well, number one, Mike, I believe one of the biggest keys to success in life
Mm-hmm.
is simply it's consistency. It's doing something consistent over time. And the reason I say that, like I feel right now someone watching or listening to this being like, you're lame AF. That is, a BS answer. That's blah blah blah. No, here's what it is. Here's
If they
what it
say
is.
that, they have a limiting belief that they're
Well,
trying to sell themselves because yeah,
yeah,
it's so true. Go for it. I want to hear what you got.
yeah. Well, it's the idea that I say in the book, action begets action. Success begets success. And so it may be as small. See, to me, imposter syndrome is simply fruit, and I deal with this. Okay. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago where I'm interviewing people for my Michael Anthony TV YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was dealing with imposter syndrome before some of the interviews that I did. And all it is, though, is it's a lack of action. It's, to me, fruit. Imposter syndrome is fruit of
Yes.
not being active enough, not having, and there are times I meditate a lot. Like I was meditating before my media appearances today.
Right.
And I'm doing media appearances, right? Like
Yeah.
if all I did was meditate and say, I am helping empower 100,000 people with life is dope, but I never actually picked up my phone and
Yeah.
like texted some people, if I never
Hmm.
had reached out to you and said, "Hey, what's your address? Like,
Yeah.
let's reconnect," I wouldn't be here. And so there's a balance
Mm.
between it, and really it comes down to, see, we have to feed ourselves. Like the words we speak are it's impossible to say something without there being some form of visual something in our brain, because our
Yeah.
brain it doesn't speak in language. Like 1% of the population sees letters, everyone else, you visually see things. and
Yeah.
and so
And on
from
top
that
of that, we're
standpoint, oh, go ahead.
as an animal, you see it with cats, they got their whiskers, they feel everything. Humans very much, we get feel a lot. Think about it in a relationship, right? When your wife isn't talking to you and she's making certain body motions and facial expressions, that says a lot more than the words that she could be saying, even. So, and it goes more than that, but there's so much energy behind it as well.
Yeah. And so that's where it's not a either or, like, cuz you can do but if you have an unbeneficial energy,
Hmm.
like
Like
I
running on a treadmill, but trying to get somewhere, like go from A
yes.
to B, but you're running on a treadmill. You're not going to get your desired outcome. You get a great workout in, but you're supposed to be somewhere else and you're running still in place.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I would cold call those clients, those music labels, I
Hmm.
would visually see myself connected, like, because my default was, oh, they're going to be angry. They're going to be like, oh, you're bothering me, blah, 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 blah. And I
You're
would,
saying they don't want to talk to me before you dial their phone
yeah.
number.
So then if I'm cold calling you, Mike, and in my mind, I've already had a conversation visually, mentally in my mind where I'm a
Hmm.
nuisance, I'm interrupting, and whatever of your day, I'm an inconvenience, and I talk to you, how much are you going to want to talk to me just from the energy I put out there? Versus
Yeah.
if I
You could
prepare
feel it over
myself.
the phone too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if I do that mentally, I see people welcoming me. They're not an intrusion. I'm adding value to them. I'm able to provide a product, a service, a business to them that a better quality at competitive rates, and they get to work with me.
Yeah.
I am valuable. So
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, when I get on the phone with you, and maybe you've had a shit day, maybe your day has
Hmm.
gone to crap, but when I talk to you, are you going to have a positive or a negative impression
Yeah.
with me because of the energy I put out there?
I was excited all day long to jump on this call with you. I know, and I appreciate you allowing to reschedule because I had something going on earlier today. I was on my last contact. I was being a diva, and I said, "Can I go run and get some new contacts so I don't have my big blue light glasses reflecting?"
Yeah.
And you were cool about it, but absolutely, like, yeah, I was looking forward to talking to you all day because I knew your energy already. Your text message always come with a positive energy, and I guarantee you texted me a few times, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know this to be true, but you maybe weren't having a great day, but you still communicated with me in a way where you were positive. Like, I'm not going to give Mike my energy that's going on, and a lot of
Yeah.
people do, and I make the mistake over and over to sometimes bring it home. I even work from
We
home,
all
so if
do.
my daughter comes over and I'm upset about a deal or something, oh, and your tension, and it's like you got to be able to get centered again. I want to say something. I was going to say it earlier, then it kind of the moment passed, and you brought up the phone calls again at the labels, right? You said I didn't really make any commission on that a whole year in. I want to argue that you did make commission. It wasn't monetary. The commission you made was the experiences of those calls, Now you're looking back, you're freaking realizing I was shooting myself in the foot before they even answered the phone. And those life lessons happened for you, not to you, because now you took it and you ran with it. And so now you put it into your everyday life. When you call people, you're thinking the second they answer the phone, how can I be of service to them? Don't be the person when the phone rings where someone goes, oh, God damn it, it's Michael on the phone.
Exactly.
Be the person when Mike calls, yeah, dude, what's up, man?
Yeah.
You know, like every time I talk to Michael, he's freaking a ball of energy. Let's go. You know, you lift me up. So, yeah.
And that's a choice. That's the thing, Mike. Like the reality is it's a choice. And I talk in one of the chapters about, I talk in one of the chapters, it's called Flip the Coin. And it's like, I literally, it's not BS. In front of my desk, I have coins here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this actually says, but it says life is a choice.
Okay.
Is it true? Is it beneficial? Right here. I had this custom made for me.
That's cool.
It's a reminder that, look, just because something is true doesn't mean it's beneficial.
Chapter 5, flip a coin.
Yeah.
Flip the coin.
And story 5. And so it's like, look, just because it's true doesn't mean it's beneficial. But here's the reality, Mike. You could see this side of the coin. I could see this side of a coin. We could describe what we're seeing to each other and be like, it's not the same thing. No, it's the exact same freaking thing. There's just this little distance between it. And so one day, the difference between having a story be beneficial and empowering versus tearing you down and keeping you stuck where you are is simply flipping a coin. And this goes back to the whole act like an owner. Society rewards us for being victims. You can go bitch and complain and mope to your girlfriend, to your parents, to your partner, to whoever it is. And statistically, you can complain to those people and they're going to feel sorry for you. They're going to give you attention. They're going to give you energy. And they're going to help point out all the other people that the mistake is because of. But the reality is, you pick up a big freaking mirror, you flip the coin, and you go, I am making this empowering. I am making it empowering. Like, and so it's like,
that's
it's
the only
choice.
way you can, when you make that choice, Mike, now you're saying, you're giving yourself the power that if I'm part of the reason that this is happening, which we all know we are, even if it's, literally the drive-by shooting, how the hell is that Michael's fault? Well, maybe, when you look at it, why was he still hanging out in that neighborhood? Maybe
but it's not about fault.
It's not about fault. And so I love what you're saying right here is when you take ownership of it, that's the only way that you now can do something about it. Because if shit happens and it keeps going sideways and it keeps going sideways, you go and complain about it to someone. There's no resolution. You're wasting their time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting energy. You're not fixing it. All the things that don't serve you, don't serve anybody, don't help your family. Why would you? We don't have a lot of time and energy on this planet. Why would you waste it?
Yeah. And even, I'm going to go so far as to say we're not even wasting it. We're actively building a negative future because we are putting
it's more
our
than
energy.
Just wasting time. You're building a negative callus there.
Yeah.
That you have to break down later.
Yes.
Because it's there. Yeah.
Because it makes it harder. The more energy you put into, no, this is how the coin looks. This is what it is. The harder it is to flip the coin and go, oh my gosh, maybe this other side was here the whole time. And that is why you have people in politics, both sides. I don't give a rip whether you are a Republican or a Democrat. There are people on both sides who are blinded because they're so entrenched in their identity. There's someone listening to this right now who wants to shut me off. And because they feel threatened by how entrenched they are to what their coin looks like, when the reality is there's another side to that coin. And so that's where it's for me coming full circle to that having hope when we're talking about when I went through that dark night of the soul season, and it was like, I'm standing there in my office, I'm looking out going, am I crazy, to leave my family and move to Nashville and whatever. There was this spark, still quietness. I don't know if it was me, I don't know if it was God, but I heard it in my head and it just simply said, you are meant for more.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, Mike, if you don't like what this looks like, flip it. As you said, when I was calling and I'm busting my tail, I'm doing everything I can to be a good father, a good husband, to provide for my kids. And I'm coming home, empty handed, with my small salary a year later. Like, I could go, explain to me how it's anything different than this right here.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have the gift of time at that time, like the gift of perspective.
Right.
Looking back, what did you just say? The point of me, being at that job wasn't to make 100 grand. The point of me at that job was to build some freaking character.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up later in life starting up a company with my ex where we ran a sales team nationwide.
You had the experience to,
dude,
to do it.
You think there weren't times where people were like, oh, I can't call, oh, nobody likes me. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Bah, dude, that made me more than $100,000. I promise you that season of life has made me more than 100 grand.
That is so good, man. This is awesome. I'm going to go out of order for a moment and take us back to, and for the audience that's listening only, this may have been I should have said it in the beginning to actually watch, because we're showing the book, I'm reading the book. There's just more of a visual, today's a little bit more of a visual episode. But chapter 4, success comes to those who persevere. What you're just talking about is that you did persevere. There's a quote I picked that I really like from Derek Jeter. He says, there may be people who have more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone to work harder than you do. And when I think of your story, Mike, there's more talented people and all that. I look at my story, more talented, better looking folks, whatever it is. And you can always say, oh, they got this and that in their favor. Victim mentality. Don't allow anyone else to work harder than you. Yeah. Right. And so, and I know we were kind of a little bit mocking that whole, oh, you're going to get up at 3:30 in the morning. We're not talking about that. It's like, you have your specific things you want to do today.
Yeah.
Don't make an excuse to not go all in on that.
Yeah.
And so what you did is you went all in on it. You created the company. You look back, the experiences at the moment that were terrible. You flipped the coin. Now this happened for me.
Yeah. That's
guess who has the power all of a sudden? Now Michael's got all the power. Yeah.
Well, that's the secret, Mike. We all have the power.
The power. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
And it's as simple. I've had the gift of being mentored by literally world-class leaders. And I've paid very little for that mentorship. It's been through things that, like, just life. Now, this particular mentorship I'm about to reference, I was a platinum partner with Tony Robbins, which is his top level. And it's not, I'll just say it's not cheap.
Sure.
But there was in an event where he was talking with me through a part of my life, and he said something to me that will forever. It changed. It snapped everything into focus. And I'm going to say this for you, for your viewers, for your listeners. And it's so simple, and yet it's profound when we accept the depth of it. Life was not happening to me. It's happening for me. And that, Mike, that is a core in me now. No matter what happens.
Perspective. Yeah.
I don't know if the quality of our life is dependent on the quality, or determines the quality, getting too fired up here. The quality of the questions we ask in life determine the quality of the life that we live. And if you ask why God, why is this happening to me? You're going to get a low quality answer.
Just
but
like
if
AI,
you say,
you put a junk prompt in, you're not going to get a great solution out of it. Yeah.
Yes. But if you go, maybe sometimes you stop asking the questions and you just trust. Instead of going, why is this happening to me? You go, I know that no matter why this is happening, I am being made better for it. I'm not being punished, I'm being polished. And
Mm.
I am going to be thankful for this. Now, some of you watching or listening could go, oh, that's a bunch of Pollyanna bullshit. Well, how's your life working out for you? How's it working
Right.
out for you right now with what you got? Look, all I'm doing is saying, I talk about this in another chapter, the future's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
If we don't know what the future holds, why are you so committed to having it be shitty? Why are you so committed to having a crappy future if we don't know what it is yet? Why are you attacking someone for thinking the future is going to be dope?
Yeah. Which one do you want to pick? Yeah. Yeah. Life is dope. That's the way you choose to see it. You put the glasses on, say, I'm going to see it that way. Right.
Yeah.
You think about the world today. We talked about a couple current events that are going on that are absolutely horrible. And you and I could spend all of today looking into it, seeing what's going on. It's a horrible situation.
Getting
It's
worked
happening.
up.
Yeah, getting worked up. Changing the way we live our lives because of it. And I'm not saying it's good to be completely naive to it and just don't tune in at all, because you want to know what's going on in your backyard. But control, that's out of your control, Mike. It's out of my control. I'm looking forward to my weekend with my daughter. After I get off this interview, taking care of my team, making sure they're good, my clients are good, so I can enjoy, just like many fathers around the world are enjoying Father's Day this Sunday with their kids. And so that is what my focus is on. But it's horrible what's going on in LA right now. But am I going to let that change? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to control what's in my control there.
And we have to remember that every source of media today is not there to report news.
Right.
It's there to sell ads.
Clicks, ads. Yeah. Yeah.
It's to make money. And so, and I used to be like, oh, Matt, or like, no, that's not true. Oh, no, it's true. It is just more true, more blatant on some than others. And so the reality is, like, look, if I literally ask myself this, Mike, if 100 years ago I wouldn't have heard about it, do I really need to fill my mind with it today?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I keep up on things. Like, there's stuff my kids will come to me on, and I'm like, yeah, I read about that 3 days ago. And they're like, how did you know about that? You know, so it's not like my head's in the sand, but I don't give my energy to it. I understand everything I read is there to sell me fear.
Yeah.
Everything I read is to sell me fear. So if I acknowledge that and I go, okay, they're trying to instill fear of something. Let me just take the cliff notes for what it is. This is happening. All right. Well, there's precedence. That's happened, blah, blah, blah. You just have to learn cycles of history and you understand there's nothing new. But I digress. And
since we're talking about, people clicking and sponsors and money, we may as well get to our sponsor.
There we go.
Lead sponsor of the show. I got to get some clicks here.
Do it.
So our main sponsor, guess who it is? socialchameleon.us. That's my company. Shameless plug. And transform your podcast at socialchameleon.us. You press record. We handle the rest. We work with B2Bs. We work with entrepreneurs, people who are looking to launch their podcast, turn it into great content, turn it into part of your sales funnel, part of getting the word out about what you do and how you can help people and connect with great people like Mike. We actually schedule podcast interviews and things like that so people can get the right folks in the seats and having conversations with them. I do want to give some love to our affiliates as well. Riverside.fm. So that's what we're recording on right here. And then Libsyn.com, Libsyn.com. You can get your first month free with the promo code BeGreat. It's all one word, Be Great. And if you're looking to launch podcasts and get it out on Apple, Spotify, that's how you do it. You go over to Libsyn and use promo code BeGreat. So I got you for like, maybe another 10 minutes before you got to run?
Yeah, I was going to say about 15 minutes. Yep.
Look, we're living in a world, Mike, where people are racing to the bar after work.
Yeah.
Friday night, they're going to the club. And look, I'm not trying to sound like a square. Fine, go have a drink. They're going to the club. They're staying home and they're watching 6 seasons of the same. They're binge watching something on YouTube or on Netflix. And they're
not
escaping.
something that lifts them up like this
No,
podcast.
not an uplifter. It's a total time zapper. And they're doing it to disconnect from reality. I've done it. I've done all of this. The things that we just talked about.
I talk about it in the book.
You talk about it in the book. How can our audience truly build a life that they don't want to escape from? That's what made me think of it. That was your question in the book to people. Yeah.
Well, first off, if you're going to build a life that you don't need a vacation from, you need to understand what it is you want in life. Okay. Because so many of us, and this is a little bit from another, chapter or whatever. But the reality is there are far too many people. And I know the majority of people watching and listening, you're an early entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneur in your entrepreneurial phase. There's no exception to this. I was just speaking to a group of real estate professionals an hour before this recorded. And what I'm about to say can be as true for you as it is for an employee. And that is, you can spend 20 years of your life pursuing something, not knowing what it was, and never truly experiencing fulfillment as a result.
Wow.
And so, creating a life you don't need a vacation from at first. And I talk about in the book how when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I literally had that written out and in front of me on my desk, along with I had some photos of different people that meant something and just motivation, visual.
A vision board, basically. Is what
except for this was just fish line and photos clipped.
Well, you didn't say how you had to do a vision board, but that
what?
was your version. Yeah. There
True.
it is.
True. I make my house a vision board. All this behind me, vision board. Anyways.
Yeah.
So with that, I started the journey, and at first I thought travel is a high value of mine. So I'm going to create a life I don't need a vacation from.
Yeah.
Well, what I ended up creating was a life that had some really great vacations in it. And that is not a life that you don't need a vacation from.
Okay.
There's a difference. See, I share an example, one of the lowest moments. Well, let's see here. That's a different chapter, different purpose. But okay, this story from that chapter is one where basically in the insurance world, you can take 5-star luxe vacations multiple times a year, paid for by insurance carriers, by just it's really great.
Okay.
Well, when I'm early on in it, I'm so focused on I'm going to earn this vacation. I'm going to earn this vacation that all of a sudden I end up at the vacation, and literally day one, I hear and I feel this second clock down of click, 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 because I know I'm going to end up right back in the grind. And after a couple of those, because again, your boy
talking about
is
earning
a little
trip? Were you in the insurance business? Is that what I'm getting? Oh, okay.
Yeah, life insurance.
Okay. All right, cool. I worked at Liberty for a little while. I did life, home, auto, the whole thing. So
all right,
we got that. Yeah, we got that in common. But you were earning these trips, but the second you're there, you're like, okay, well, it's only a temporary fix. This isn't really a lifestyle change. It's a moment.
Yes. And that's when I had this realization. I created a life of dope ass vacations, but I did not create a life I don't need a vacation from. And so that's when the deep work for me, Mike, came in of designing. This is another chapter, know the game you're playing. It's design a scorecard of what really matters for you in your life. And I did that. And I started, it wasn't about the destination. It's about the journey. Like if a vacation is all you live for, well, a vacation is maybe 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. You go on a 14-day, I've been on a 4.5 month cruise. I spent over 6 months on a cruise
Oh
ship
my
last
God.
year,
Yeah.
and it wasn't enough time. Let me just tell you,
Oh,
like, there's never enough. But that's why we have to learn that the journey, the process, every phone call, and I talk about phone calls because sales is a lot of what I've done most of my life. And
right.
so, it's like those interactions are what matter, which as I'm speaking right now, I'm realizing, Mike, me taking the approach of I genuinely want to get to know you.
Hmm.
Most salespeople don't,
I
but
agree.
I do. And the reason
Right.
I do is because the sale may or may not happen. I don't have control over that. I'll give everything I have because I believe 100% in whatever it is that I'm selling you, because I will not sell something that I don't believe in. I will not. And
Folks,
that's my internal integrity. So you
mic
better
drop
freaking,
moment right there.
yeah. So you better you better watch out if I'm going to talk to you about something, because I freaking believe in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sell you, I'm trying to help you.
I
And
want to
so,
pause you right there, Mike,
yep.
because, dude, everything I've sold that I stayed at the company for over a year, let's say, because, you're kind of figuring yourself out when you're younger. I was, like I just mentioned, I worked at Liberty. I was there for a few years. I did well for being a younger agent because I believed in it. I knew I wanted to protect your car, your house, and your
That's
goodies,
a
but
tough
also your
company though
family.
to win at. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. There's a reason I left. Let's just say that. And then from there, I actually worked for Sleep Number for a while. Sleep Number beds before they were
Phenomenal
like,
beds.
well, it's
I,
actually from Minneapolis too. So you
yeah.
probably,
Are they?
yeah, they're from Minneapolis. Yeah, Minneapolis. Unless I had a couple concussions, but I'm like 95, 99% sure that's true.
Yes, I'll agree. The people that I got my first Sleep Number from worked for
Yeah.
the company, and they were in Minnesota, so it would make
Yeah,
sense.
Minneapolis. Yeah. Um, you're not talking me out of that one. No. So I'm going to say this real quick. I work for Sleep Number. The reason I was a really top, one president's circle, became a store manager, was really successful in that company. I slept on a Sleep Number bed. I believed in everybody I talked to who walked in my store. I connected and cared with them first. Hey, let me get to know you. What's going on? They tell me about their car accidents. They had surgery. Whatever. It's a young couple. It's their first mattress. It's someone's there just to buy a pillow for their mom for Mother's Day. You connect and you care. And I really did. And whenever someone said, like, how are you so successful here? This person's 40% to goal. You're 200% to goal. I do believe, if I look back, the difference was what you just said. I cared about everybody I worked with. And I didn't, second to that was the sale, because it's going to happen when everything lines up. I just want to make sure I give you the right information. You enjoy working with me. It was important that people came and had a good experience, great experience. And then at the end, it's like, okay, now do you have the means to be able to do this? Because why would you not? You obviously love it. You know it's what you need. I wasn't afraid to ask for it, because it's like, someone had cancer and I had the cure for cancer. Am I not going to sell it to them? Absolutely would. So I felt comfortable selling it to myself, my friend, my family, and obviously a stranger who just walked in the door. The same amount of confidence. And that's why I was really successful. And so what you just said, I wanted to reiterate to the audience, like, if you don't have that belief in your product, in your service, or you're working at someone else's organization, which is cool if you enjoy having a sales job, if you don't believe it in that way, you're just basically, like we talk about, shooting yourself in the foot. Like, you're just putting yourself in an area, in an arena that you're not going to be able to win at,
Yeah.
because you don't believe in it enough where, like, you can sleep confidently at night, no pun intended, because you're not selling them BS, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I get really
You're good.
worked up when
That's great.
when
I love it.
when it gets into passion about sales. I go crazy. I think, honestly, I don't like to say I think, because that's another weak word, but one of the things I do feel
Believe.
that I believe in, but that I want to spend some time in, is sales training. I feel like that's something that I was a great store manager because I loved it. Like I loved winning because it was helping people. And I never really pursued like a sales training career kind of thing,
Mm.
I went into media. I started Social Chameleon and got into a whole different game I had to learn and figure out. But I feel like there's going to be a point in time when maybe I create more course content on selling because it's something I'm super passionate about and I was good at it because like you just said, I cared. So I'm just riffing right now. You got to go in a second. I got one more question for you, brother.
Okay. I love it.
We're gonna put I'm corny. We're gonna put a bookend on it. We're gonna put a
Ooh.
bookend on our conversation.
A life
what
is
we're gonna
dope
do.
bookend.
A life is dope bookend. I really love this book. I'm excited to read the rest of it now. We didn't even really get fully into a lot of your story, so I feel like now I do have to read the book. I will read it. Mike.
Hey, and everyone can go get a copy as well. Like I'm going to shamelessly plug, Mike, that right now I lowered the Kindle version.
Yeah, you said to 99 cents. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I did say that at the beginning.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
That's all right.
I
You
forgot.
did a couple of these today, so you probably were thinking it was the other. My bookend
Totally
question for you. I don't always end with this. I
Okay.
always end with saying be great and be grateful. And we talk a lot about gratitude on the show. But what gets overlooked is the great part. How do you define greatness? I want to talk about that real quick before you run.
So how, are you asking how I personally define greatness?
You look in the mirror and you ask yourself, I want to be great. What does that really mean?
For me, greatness comes down to knowing that I am being true to myself. Whether that leads to a beneficial or you could look at it in the moment and say that was a bad decision, quote unquote, bad decision, or you lost the money or whatever. Am I being true to myself? Because greatness is not about money. It's not about status. It's not about any of these external things. It's about following, first off, acknowledging and knowing what it is that's in your heart. Why is it that the odds of existing are whatever, like could quadrillion to one,
Yeah.
Of actually existing, let alone
You're talking about the first race that we all win?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
We're on the same page.
and so
I think it's like 1 in 400 million is the number, something like that.
yeah,
Crazy.
well, but I'm talking zone it out and say in the scheme of the universe, they've done stats on like actually having life than being alive on Earth. And now I'm going to say being alive during this day and age where we have technology, we have opportunity. And look, I travel, I see people in all parts of the world. But I'm going to venture to say the majority of your viewership is in the United States. And to be born in a country as imperfect as we may be, it is the most empowered country and empire in the history of mankind, humankind. And you are born in that country during this day and age where you have 12-year-olds sitting there on a phone becoming gazillionaires, and you want to tell me that you can't make it in life? No, you can make it in life. It just comes down to knowing what it is that you're putting your energy toward. Who is it that you were put here to be? Designing that scorecard like I talk about in the book. It all comes down to success, winning in life is knowing that when you take your last breath, which I'm going to bring full circle to the first story, the opening story, of the shooting. And in that moment, Mike, when the bullet was grazing me, I had no control. I realized there was a scorecard that I had never paid attention to. See, we're brought up to care about what our parents to think, to care about what God thinks, to care about everything and everyone outside of us.
Score on the test. Yeah.
But what about you? When you are on your deathbed, No one can BS. And let me tell you, if you've never experienced death pulls away the BS. We cannot BS ourselves. And in that moment, Mike, I believe that like I will stand before God and give account for my life. And in that moment, as someone who believes that, I was like, hold my beer, like hold up. I don't give a like bluntly what went through my head. I don't give a shit what God has to say. And I don't mean I don't give a shit. I mean, God is going to say what God says. But first, there was a wall of things in my life that I knew. It didn't matter if God said, you've done great, come on in. I'm like, but yo, I have this. I know I did not live up to this. I know I did not live my purpose on X, Y, and Z. Or if God was like, yeah, you fell short here, here, and here, I'd be like, yo, I'm feeling that right now. Like, you don't need to tell me. I'm sorry. I screwed up. Holy crap. And that is a regret, whether when we close our eyes, there's nothing more, or we're for eternity, alive. I do not want that for you, for me, for anyone, for their last thought to be a realization that they sold themselves short because they were too afraid, too distracted, too fill in the blank to actually figure out why it is that we won this cosmic lottery. And I'm saying this as someone who, if we're going to compare external things, I've been sexually abused, physically abused, mentally abused, verbally abused, stabbed, shot. I've been threatened by my life because of the color of my skin. And yeah, I'm white. Yes, I was born a male in the US, which is a leg up. I acknowledge that. But regardless of all of this, guys, to literally, even in these slums of India, you've hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
Figure out why you're here and do that and close out all the other noise. Nothing else matters. Don't be an entrepreneur if just because your cousin, your brother, your dad, your uncle, your whoever fill in the blank, your niece, your mom were entrepreneurs doesn't mean you need to be. Just because, maybe you want to be a father or a mother. That is the most honorable thing. Do it, be it, pursue it with all your heart and find out a way. Do not stop until you're able to do it with everything you have.
Holy smokes. Fire coming out of the microphone. I'm just sitting over here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're just like, what happened to Mike? I'm just smiling. Who knows the faces I'm making. Mic drop moment right there from Michael Anthony. Guys, go back and listen to that again. If some of that, you were just, whew. How about the guy in the gym? He just ran an extra 10 miles there in the last 10 minutes of this conversation. Mike, that was some of the best, I'm going to say content. That word gets a little overused nowadays, but just like what you just gave us all right there from your heart. The reason it came out the way it did is you felt it because you lived it. So good to remember and to be reminded that day one, we have nothing. We all have nothing. We come on this planet. We don't have anything. We don't even have clothes on. We're as innocent as you can be. But look you went through all of those trials and tribulations and still have the perspective to flip the coin and the realization to say, I'm living during a time period when we have the technology with any questions we have can get answered in less than 3 seconds. Anything I want done, I have an AI assistant who can help me. Not anything, but a lot of cool things you can get assistance with. You can get hired help pretty affordable. I love that you even said, maybe it's not you want to run a business. Maybe you find out that that's not, you do it, but you find out that that's not your real purpose in life anymore. Fine, go find the thing. Man, that was really powerful. Find what you want to connect with. Go all in on it. Life is dope when you look at it through the right lens. And guys, get this book. I started the introduction, and I know it's going to be one that I usually read like a chapter a night intentionally. Yeah. But there's 12 chapters, I think. 12 days, done.
15.
15. Oh, yeah, 15.
15 stories.
15 stories of hard-won hope and the power of perseverance. Life is dope. Michael Anthony, .com, right?
.com. Yeah. And
MichaelAnthonyTV.com, and everything's linked on there for you as well.
Yeah. You go to connect on MichaelAnthonyTV.com. And there's so many different ways, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, the money, finance, investing, the travel stuff, I've all sorts of ways to engage. So just go there, connect with what resonates with you the most. And let me know that you saw me on the Mic'd Up podcast so that I can genuinely celebrate with you, feel a connection, and let's go, baby. And
I'll tell you guys what, if you're here at the end of this episode, I've never done this before, okay? Over 250 episodes. Mike sent me this book, which I'm grateful that you did that. You didn't have to do that, and he signed it. Did you sign both of them? Because you sent me two.
Yes.
Okay,
but I didn't address that one to anyone.
Okay, so I have the one to myself that's addressed to Mike. I have a second book signed by Michael Anthony.
Yes.
It's one of 1,500 that are signed.
Yeah.
And I will give it to anybody. Free gift. I'll pay for shipping. If you're all the way at the end of this episode and you reach out to me, send me a DM. If it's on YouTube, you can comment, whatever. Get a hold of me. Make sure I see it. I read every comment. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, go to my Instagram, DM me, whatever it takes. Let me know that you're here all the way at the end. I will send the first person who reaches out to me that signed copy for Michael himself.
I love it.
There you go.
I love it. You know what? Let's do this. If nobody has done that in 2 weeks,
okay,
give it to the guy at the gym walking backwards.
Okay, I had a friend already in mind for it. If nobody claims it, but no, I like that idea. That's a cool idea. Cause shit, why not? That's cool. I like that. Yeah, I mentioned him. Let's do that. That's cool. Mike, I said it earlier. Be great and be grateful. And I honestly, I can't. I just said can't. It's hard for me to put it into words how grateful I am for you today. And this conversation's one I'm actually going to go back and listen to it and watch it again because you hit so many different really, as you were saying my body, like temperature change. I felt a lot of what you said because there's a lot of things I'm still going through in my own life where it's like, I gotta work on that more. I gotta fix that more. I'm a student of the game, do that more, Yeah. So, and if I'm feeling it, I know our audience did too. So thank you so much for delivering safe travels out to New York. If you're ever in the Philly area, hit me up, let me know, give me a heads up. We'll go out for what do you like to drink? You said brewskis, but what are we going to have?
Either beer,
old fashioned.
What?
An old fashioned.
Yeah, I like having tequila or mezcal old fashions, but I'm picky. I'm picky, so I will do regular bourbon or whatever. Or if it's tequila, it has to be. I'm a craft tequila guy, so. But you know what? It's the company. I also love dive bars. I'm a dichotomy, so I'm like, give me shitty liquor at a dive bar, and I'm fine.
It's who I'm hanging with. It's the same thing we talked about this entire episode. It's what you make of the situation you're in. Doesn't matter the arena you're in. It's the people, the connections that you get out of it.
Yeah.
Although, hell, if you want to hang out in Hawaii, I'll take a Mai Tai.
Yeah, you and I both.
Put it in room 253. What's your last name? I forget how to spell it. That'll be $29, sir.
Yeah. Plus,
Mike, you're the
plus a 20%. So
included. This is awesome. Let's do it again. You're always invited on Mic'd Up.
Thank you.
And keep kicking butt. But I love that you said, I haven't arrived yet. Yeah, definitely haven't, because you got more that this world needs from you. Keep doing your thing, brother. Love you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Love you too. Peace.